It's not that hard for a class. What's still pretty oh, well, I've been studying for that. At least science. Well, science is pretty boring. Minors. Yeah, I mean, it's not. Yep, there you go. Oh, look, it's falling down. Good, then I know what to do. You guys think looking at this?
I call this meeting of the South Coast School Alliance Student Association Senate to order. Roll call and approval of proxies.
Farrape.
Present.
Camps.
Here.
Captain. Fernandez.
Here.
Fink.
Here.
Keel.
Here.
Larry.
Here.
Lewis.
Here.
Lindgren.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Richard.
Here.
Schock.
Here.
Seekman.
Here.
Proxy Pierce.
Here.
Stanek. Oh, sorry. Severson.
Here.
Bostad.
Here.
Winter.
Here.
Whipplum.
Perfect.
Alright, did everyone get a chance to look at the meeting agenda? Sorry if I was out a little late. We discussed some last minute changes. Any comments, questions, concerns about it? Alright. All those in favor of approving the agenda say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Cool. The agenda is approved. Alright. And then did we have a chance to look at all the meeting minutes from last, or I guess it wouldn't be last week, week before last, 25th. Any changes or anything to that? Anyone wants? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving September 25th minutes say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Perfect. Alright, those pass. Moving on, we have our open board guests. And first we have Rob Sales, who is the director of the Wellness Center and the assistant football coach for the running backs.
Listen, good thing we were paying attention out here.
So we weren't at all. Yeah, take it away, just kind of, yeah, anything prepared, just not.
Okay, so, man, I did that last time.
Hey, can I sit down?
Yeah.
Alright, permission?
Right in the middle, by that cigarette.
No, gotta be able to see everybody. Hey, so it's been brought to my attention by multiple students, multiple members of Senate. They had questions. Questions on hours, questions on days of availability, different stuff. So, let me throw this out. So when I first came in here, and we're talking about doing some different changes and things like that, one of the questions was to do the changes, to do different opportunities, start throwing different things out there, am I going to come back and ask for more money? And I said no. So that money has to come from somewhere. So what I did was I looked at hours of usage, days of usage, things like that, and it's like, okay, when are the least number of people in there? Saturdays and Sundays, and then later at night, okay? So, I was like, all right, part of when I was on the academic side of the house was trying to get some of those things shut down a little earlier, because we all know you guys have a surplus of sleep, okay? So if we can kind of shut some things down a little earlier, maybe that starts getting you guys to bed a little earlier. So then the dominoes take effect, right? So we trimmed it from 10 o'clock to 9 o'clock, all right? That was change number one. Then I looked at the number of hours of usage, and then I was looking primarily at the weekends. Sunday, okay, the old hours for Saturday and Sunday were 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., okay? On Sunday, the average number of scans, and I know we're probably missing because not every single person scans, but the average number of scans for a Sunday were like 17 point something on average. So 17 people were using the facility on Sundays. So I was like, is it worth having 2 people staffed? And the reason we staff 2 is in case somebody has to leave, there's always supervision, okay? 2 people staffed for those 8 hours. Well, you start looking at the monetary amount, okay? You do, let's just use easy numbers, $12 an hour per student times 2 students, so you're going $24 an hour for those 8 hours. Is it worth those, what, $100? Right around? Am I not right? Am I mathing there? I was told there'd be no math, okay? So anyway, so you do those numbers, is it worth the 17 point whatever students? In my mind, to get some of those other things going, it wasn't, okay? So I trimmed Sunday off. And then I looked at Saturday, and it's like, okay, how many students are coming in at 9? And it was like between 9 and 10, there was like an average of like 6 scans. I was like, okay. So as we got later, around the noon hour, that was when we started hitting a peak. So it's like, what if we just open at noon and we just roll it till 5 o'clock? That seemed to kind of fit the most numbers. So I was like, okay, we'll go there. So that was another way we could kind of cut labor costs to redirect the funding, okay? So that was the big thing, is like, how can I find funding in what is already being funded to then redirect to possibly doing some increased intramural stuff? How do I get some opportunities to get transportation and then pay for transportation to go on hikes, to get first timers up on to Scary Peak, Carey Peak, okay, Icy Peak up there, to do some possible experience to go skiing. How do I get some of those funds? And that was the way I found to get the funds. So if that answers a majority of the questions. So does that answer a majority of the questions that you guys have been getting? Like why? The big picture of why? That is why. And is there additional questions off of some of that stuff?
We'll go Senator Leonard and Senator Lewis.
My biggest, so I'm an RN in the freshman dorms, and my eyebrow was concerned. A big thing is the lack of clarity of when those hours actually are. The first 2 links that come up when you look up wellness, SDSMT Wellness Center hours have the old hours at the school website, and then it links to the athletic website for a 2016 post, and those are the first 2 links.
So it's updated.
Yeah. So make sure those are updated, maybe send out another email, because I know freshmen, a lot of times going to the gym can be a really scary thing, and when they show up and it's closed, it really discourages them from trying to go at a different time. So just clarity of when it should and shouldn't be open.
All right. So that was just on the school website. And then you said something about the athletics?
Yeah, the second link that comes up is the athletic website, and it's the hours, but the link on top says 2016 hours, and that's the second link that comes up.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
And Cinderless.
I got something to add onto what Jordan said, and I got my own thing as well. So
Okay.
to top onto our discussion about the residence halls, the department is more than happy to post flyers around. So to help increase that visibility for hours for on campus, for our on-campus residents, we're more than happy to post that in the halls. My question / comment is, I know it's very early on in your tenure still at the moment of this position, but what has attendance at those new events looked like to be able to possibly justify flip-flopping decreased hours at the gym to new events?
Got you. So, if you take out, we were averaging, it was actually, I'm going to get to your question, I'm going to throw some other stuff at you. So, the first 2 weeks, we were up around 250 scans a day, which is about 30 to 40 scans depending on the day, higher than we were last year. Now, since that's kind of died off, we're anywhere, Tuesdays and Thursdays are right between 150 and 160, and then Monday, Wednesday, Fridays are right around between 160 and 180. We kind of peak at 180. So those scans are 5 to 8 people higher. So we're a little bit higher than normal, than what we were last year. I would say from the intramural numbers, we're right about where we have been. One of the things, and it's awesome to kind of be able to come in here and talk to you guys, one of the things I got sent was an opportunity to do flag football intramurals for a regional competition over in Lincoln. They have both female, male, and co-ed teams. And so that's something that I would like to see what the interest level was on campus. It would be kind of cool to take a team all over there and do a competition over the weekend. So that would be cool to get over there. So that would be an opportunity. That's actually next month. So kind of a quick turnaround, but pretty easy really to schedule something, get some hotel rooms. But that would be an opportunity. Prices on that, it all depends. So there was that, and then the other thing is I'm talking with SDSU about doing a bouldering competition because they have in their facility over there, they also have a climbing wall. So it'd be kind of fun to do something where we can kind of do a competition there. Whether it starts out as friendly and then turns into something a little bit more competitive or not. So those are the things right now. Once again, interest levels and things like that would kind of answer more directly to your question. Once we get numbers on, is this something that campus would be interested in?
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Cinderella.
Am I correct on the statement that you're trying to gauge people's interest before you get us involved in other events? So right now you don't have any numbers, but that you're hoping to find things that students are interested in so that you can make these events happen from your gained money from labor costs from those other times.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So if you have a somewhat of a budget and then you say, okay, they're not interested in doing that anyway. Okay, what about this? Okay, then once we hit it in a bit, it's like, okay, we have a budget. There was a lot of interest in that. Now, how many can we open it up to? So if it's, let's stick with the intramural flag football thing. If there is 3 teams that we can field, okay, well then you look at what's the budget that we have. Can we bring 3 complete teams? Okay, whether we're covering some food, whether we're helping cover hotel rooms, we're covering transportation, all that kind of stuff. And so that way you can say, we're working with this amount. Now we can offer these different things instead of offering all these things and then going, how am I going to pay for it? You know what I mean?
Vice President.
I'd like to yield some time to a number of items.
Josiah Ballmeister. I use the Wellness Center a lot, and I was just kind of wondering, I've kind of been curious, I have a couple of friends who are also interested. Is there a way to possibly open the Wellness Center up 2 more hours where it's maybe not as staffed, but make it a lot more restricted? I know I talked with Clive a little bit, as well as did a little bit of research in terms of insurance and stuff, like requirements in that terms, but making it so maybe more waivers where, hey, we're not allowed to file any claim against the school if we're using the wellness center after it's not staffed. In which case it's completely on us. And then there could be like, we need to go through a certain amount of training or pass a test in order to be able to use it.
So more of like a 24-hour access to it, and you guys hit it when you want to. Like what specifically are you kind of talking about?
I mean, it wouldn't necessarily have to be 24 hours because I mean, sleep is necessary, but especially on the weekends, having Sundays cut off and having a lot more restricted time on Saturdays was a bigger hit because I enjoy going to Saturday mornings where that's not open anymore.
Gotcha.
Sundays where it's not open.
Gotcha.
So.
Gotcha. That's definitely something we could look at. We can look at how the insurance policy is written too, because that's probably what would probably catch us up is how that policy is written. But I'm not against that at all. And another thing that I'm gonna bring it up. I hesitate to bring this out and like tell you because I don't know if it can happen. Right now, the Department of Labor has actually got a program where they're trying to, Corey knows what I'm talking about, where they're trying to get retirees more active in the community. And so that is an opportunity too to then help staff us, because then I only have to pay for 1 individual versus 2 to be there on Sundays, to then open it on Sundays, or to add hours on Saturday and balance it out on Saturdays and Sundays. Because that's another thing that we're looking at. And are the individuals that are in the Department of Labor program interested in doing that? What are they able to do? What are the hours they're able to do? So that's something we're looking at too, to help expand for you guys and the students on campus. So I'm throwing that out there, but I don't know where that's going to go. That's just something that we're also exploring. So I can definitely look at the insurance stuff, because I got to look at the insurance stuff anyway. Because I'm looking at different ways to generate revenue through the Wellness Center to open it up to.
Well, and I know like some people would be willing to pay to keep like more hours, because if it's cheaper than 507, they'd go here.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, but I don't want that to be the case. You know what I mean? Especially since it's already, you guys are essentially already paying for it. You know what I mean? I would look at it more like, Board of Regents students, right? Not just South Dakota School of Mines students. Is there a way that we can open it up for student memberships on that end? Is there a way we can open it up to direct family of employees on campus? Is there a way that remote workers for the Board of Regents or for another Board of Regents institution, can they get a membership? That's where I would look at having charges for a membership, not students that already go here. Like I said, I would rather explore other ways to make sure that you have expanded hours and more opportunity rather than, I just don't think that's right. Since you guys, like I said, are already paying for it. But that is awesome.
And Senator Lewis.
Can we, to make sure that this has an effect and an end cause, can we set this up to make a deliverable through the Student Affairs Committee? That way this doesn't get into discussion, so that there's possibly an end goal set up, or a couple of end goals set up for the Student Affairs Committee that can be discussed, that can be relayed back and forth between the exec committee at the Wellness Center,
Yeah.
and then possibly updates can be given to Senate.
Yeah, Pat, would you, or Senator Winter, would you be able to, would you be willing to do that?
Sure.
Okay, and we can do that.
So for that to happen, what's your expectation from Maya?
I would direct it to the director of the Student Affairs Committee.
Okay, Mr. Winter. What would you expect from me? Do you want the? I'll just leave it to you. I don't want to put words in your mouth. What would you want from me?
As far as, I think we could do another survey, just seeing, we could gauge like interest on what, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name. Josiah, what he was saying about maybe different hours or something. We could try to figure out some sort of compromise, just gauge how much people use the gym and just what solutions students think are available.
Okay.
And then I can still be the middleman between the students and yourself. And we can figure out what you guys think would be a good compromise. And maybe somewhere in there there's like there's a compromise that can kind of, maybe not both parties get everything they want, but they each get something they want.
Well, don't ruin the dream, bro. I mean, come on. Everybody wants to get what they want. I would love to figure out how to give you guys more hours and still be able to fund some of those different things and throw opportunities at you guys. So I'm all for it. Don't shoot down the dream yet. Okay, that works. Mr. Patrick Winter. Okay.
Any other questions, comments, concerns for Director Sales? Seeing none, thank you for coming.
Hey, no worries. Thank you.
Alright, moving on, we have another open board guest, which is Lost and Found. So, and and under Lost and Found we have the Dish Shop. Is that
Yes, good
Dish
job.
Shop, who is the Community Prevention Advisor for Lost and Found.
Yes. Hello, everyone. How are you? Good. Okay. So how many of you were senators last year? Beautiful. All right. I promise my spiel is a little different. When I came last time, I was like a fresh month in, and I was like, I mean, we're on campus. We're doing some great things, but we've done a lot since then. So, does anyone feel comfortable telling me what is Lost and Found? Anyone know? Remember? I talked with a few different groups here. So I'm going to feel like a professional. Yes.
I feel like when you talk to me about it, or I guess your organization talked to me about it, it's sort of a way to get people linked with each other, just like basically as friends, and like just make sure they're like doing well mentally, and how they like uplifting each other.
Yes. Beautiful. Yes. So we are a statewide organization, so we are at almost every college campus across the state. But really our goal is to reduce suicide risk on college campuses. So we know in South Dakota that suicide is the #1 leading cause of death for ages 16 to 24. And so we actually started as a group of college students at University of South Dakota that got in a Facebook argument over the whole write love on your arms. And they're like, does that actually do anything? So they're like, we want to be doing more than just these different campaigns. So this is a mouthful. I won't go super in depth there. But yes, working on college campuses, but then also their support networks. So knowing that you all have relationships with your peers, with faculty, with family members, right? So you all are going to be able to know when something isn't quite right with those you're connected to before a lot of times a professional will. So try to equip everyone with how do you have those conversations, feel comfortable having those conversations is really our goal. So, me and my role, I am the West River Community Prevention Advisor. I'm here on campus 2 days a week. I'm here Mondays and Thursdays. And then I'm also at Black Hills State 1 day a week, and then the University Center as well. So, I will give kudos to South Dakota Mines. You are the first campus in the state that has taken advantage of all of Lost and Found services. So, give yourselves a round of applause. Right, okay. But knowing that really your faculty and staff support you all as students can be really beneficial. Sometimes I have to go into spaces and sell the work we're doing. Yes. We are funded from House Bill 1079. Has anyone heard of this? A little bit. The state legislature passed a bill in 2021 declaring a state of mental health emergency in the state of South Dakota. And so we are seeing positive results. Our suicide rate in South Dakota has actually gone down over the last 2 years. So knowing the power of our connections is really, really helpful. You can go to the next slide. So these are all the different places we're at. We have a few different programs. I'm going to talk mostly about the peer-to-peer program and some of our other services. I'm going to wait on the chapter stuff. Laura's here. We are trying to become an official student organization, but she's going to talk about that next week. So I won't steal her thunder. Next slide, please. Okay. So these are all the different campuses that we are on. We do have a peer-to-peer mentor program. Does anyone know how our program is different than the other mentor programs you all have on campus? No. Beautiful. So this is the same thing. Corey can attest to this, is that the last thing that we want to do is come in and duplicate what's already being done. So we know the Student Success Center has a really great mentor program. The Inclusion Office has a really great mentor program. Ours is really grounded in that mental health foundation. So all of our students that are mentors are trained in how to have conversations regarding mental health, normalizing those conversations, knowing that particularly you all as Mind students have a big academic pressure. And so how do we normalize conversations of managing that, time, working out, the wellness center, right? So how do you do all of that from the perspective of other students that may have also struggled? So I hear a lot of the times from students, how do I help new students or students maybe who are already here not experience what I experienced, right? Learn from my challenges. And so that's really our whole goal is connecting those students together. But then I also act as a mentor to our mentors. So I say, you have to take care of yourself so you can show up for those around you. And so that's really our goal, is making sure that everybody knows how to show up for those they're connected to. I put Reach You on here. The Board of Regents is looking at funding this, so it is an app that runs our peer-to-peer mentor program. All of our mental health resources across the state are within this app. It allows students to chat, to get connected to each other, and then they have like self-care resources, boundary setting, so all of these pieces just right at their fingertips. So it is statewide, and it is on the Mines campus as well, specifically for our peer-to-peer program. But we're asking Board of Regents to fund this so that every student has access to these resources at their fingertips. So, all right. Education and advocacy, we have some free guides. We also have free training through the Department of Health. We are launching specific campus education that talks about boundaries, self-care. I'll be providing this as part of the PDP program. Students will be connected for all of those different pieces. And right now it is free to all college campuses. And so, as I said at the beginning, our program was launched by college students. And so making sure that you all have a very different experience than our founders did as the nonprofit. And so we want to make sure we're meeting the needs of you all as students from the mental health side of things, which is part of the reason I'm here today. So, next slide. So we have a few different other resources. We have worked with the South Dakota Mines campus on developing a post-pension plan for any student or employee death and making sure it follows pieces that are helpful and not triggering to others. South Dakota Mines has also done the Resilience Index, so we work with the Dean of Students in Dwayne in the counseling office to see kind of where is South Dakota Mines, how are they promoting connections, how are they offering mental health resources, what does that look like for students, and then developing an action plan as well. Are there areas of improvement and working with the campus on that? And then for any family member that has experienced a suicide loss, we offer financial assistance as well. Last piece. Okay. So students at Mines, I've been here for a bit. I've done some training in the Student Success Center, Residence Life and Inclusion Office. So I talked about how our mentorship program is a little different. One of the pieces when I was talking with Cedric, Bryce, and now Lisa in the Student Success Center, we wanted to make sure that all mentors on campus had a similar foundation, right? So whether they are connecting through the Student Success Center, whether they are connecting through the RAs, they are giving that same information. Again, not duplicating effort. But the other big piece is I've had a lot of conversation with student athletes and students that are involved in Greek life. So particularly in those environments, they're busy, right? Like those are students that are busy, but they want that additional support. And so trying to get into those spaces and also just working with them of what is helpful for you, right? So yes. Last piece. Okay. These are our resources, but I really want to go open the floor. If there are any questions or if there are additional ways that Lost and Found can support the students at Mines. Any ideas, thoughts, comments?
Thanks for being here.
Yes. Yes. We are, she'll talk more about the chapter work, but we are also open to collaborating. So if there are spaces where you think it would be helpful to come in and talk and connect with others, happy to do so. So, yes. Cool. Well, that was easy. Any other pieces?
Any comments, questions, concerns for Lost and Found? Seeing none, thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you guys.
Alright, moving on to unfinished business from 25th of September. We only have one piece of unfinished business, which is that supplemental from ACS. So, Chief Lockwood, take it away.
So I already presented this 2 weeks ago. Are there any questions?
Motion to vote.
Motion to vote by Senator Amarafe. Or seconded by Senator Hernandez. Alright, I believe it's a roll call first, so.
Amarafe.
Aye.
Butcher.
Aye.
Cant.
Aye.
Captain. Hernandez. Aye. Fink.
Aye.
Keel.
Aye.
Leonard.
Aye.
Lewis.
Aye.
Lindgren.
Nay.
Masters.
Aye.
Quintana.
Aye.
Richards.
Aye.
Shaw.
Aye.
Seidman.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Proxy Pierce. Aye. Severson. Aye. Bostad.
Nay.
Winter.
Aye.
Malovich.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Alright. Moving on to, we don't have any new business, open discussion. Does anyone have any points of, I believe, Andrew, you had something you wanted to bring up first. Or doing that next week? Or doing that next week, okay. We'll save that for next week. Yes, Senator Oliver. Yep. Any other points of discussion or discussion? Seeing none, we'll move on to our CFO reports.
Well, it's been a bit 2 weeks. I was requested 2 supplemental reports. One was for Hard Rock River Quiz Bowl and another one was for Circle K. And we as the committee just determined that appropriation of funds wouldn't really be appropriate there. Thank you for passing the ACS supplemental. And I've been in contact with the budget office and to get previous fiscal years related to SOAP spending, so how much was requested, how much was granted to them, and then how much was spent, just to get a good trend of data for camp teams, which will be more of a discussion with President Archer's report. Otherwise, I don't have much to report. So end of the report.
Alright, any questions, comments, concerns for CFO Lockwood? Seeing none, we'll move on to the Vice President report.
Tonight, I just want to report on our Senate vacancies. I've interviewed quite a few candidates. I have 4 freshmen, 4 juniors, and 3 seniors. Interviewing for 1 position for each of those classes. I've made my recommendations to President Archer, but we will not be making a decision until next week. And report.
Alright, any comments, questions, concerns for Vice President Lee? I will make one comment. The reason why we're waiting until next week instead of appointing them today is because we still have 1 more freshman that needs to be interviewed. That will happen tomorrow. So, other than that, I guess it's my turn, President report. So, nice to see all your all's faces again after about 2 weeks. Senator Teichman and I went to Brookings. We had a wonderful time with all the other student senates that showed up there, as well as with the Board of Regents. However, first I will touch on the gas and camp stuff. So we have made a decision to kind of wait off on making. We made a decision to wait off on making a definitive decision about it, just because we want to think about it more. Vice President Lee and I were talking, and we thought there could be ways to look at more restructuring how camp is funded within SOAP rather than just going to the extreme and making it their own section on GAF. Some ways we consider doing, we had some ideas in the works. One of the big ideas that came up, like kind of making it easier, or I guess less of a headache to fund some of the camp stuff, is making like travel requests for camp, for example, because that's like the big one that kind of I've heard and I've noticed that gets held up with just supplemental requests, especially towards like competition season in the spring. There's supplemental requests for travel and such, and it gets really bogged down. Other reasons for that include student concerns, just talking to camp students, just about different aspects, how it works. So I think we just have come to a decision that we just need to flush it out about how we could go about, like just different ideas how we could go about it internally with SOAP before we just go to making its own GAF thing. With that, we are going to be talking to Vice President Spindle. He's the Vice President of Finance here, if you don't know that. As well as continuing conversations with Amy Dorenzo, Amber, what's your last name? Amber Kraft. And just coming to, and then just also doing conversations with just various camp students as well, camp organizations, just so we can kind of come to an agreement that works for everyone. So I think that's where we're at with that right now. So it's looking to be more of a long-term project, which I don't think necessarily is a bad thing, because we're just going to do the same thing that we've done last year with funding camp, just through SOAP. Moving on from that, I also wanted to report a little bit on the Student Federation meeting, as well as the Board of Regents meeting we had last week. So first of all, I'll take my notes that we had from the Student Federation meeting, just a couple things that were covered. First of all, I'll give what I said to the Student Federation. I talked about a little bit about President's of Church Committee, which Senator Stephen and I are on, giving an update on Rocker Days, talking about vacancies. And then another thing that I commend Senator Leonard for, is that she brought up an issue with student IDs being used for voting, and how students couldn't needed physical IDs in order to go register to vote if they wanted to use their student IDs. And so that was an issue that was brought up to the housing office, and I believe was resolved. So frankly, I'm happy that we were able to do that, because I feel like that provides students with more opportunity to go get registered to vote. So I'm excited about that. Senator Rose.
Can we clarify that it's not to register to vote, it's actually to vote. You're not required to present an ID to register.
Okay, yes, to vote. I apologize, that is my bad. Another thing is, I reported on the BH game. That's kind of unfortunately we lost. So, and then I bragged about the career fair. Talked about how we were going to number one in niche, and talked about what I just talked about with camp. Then moving on from that, we just had a bunch of discussion. Main discussion was with GAF. So that big discussion was kind of like how GAF increase would go. We feel that Student Federation is a lot more on board for GAF increases this year than they have been in the past. I know, for example, I believe it was SDSU is about to have a bond go out in the building, and if you don't know how GAF works with bonds, basically half of GAF for, I believe this is how it works for our school, and I believe this is also how it works for SDSU, and I believe all schools across border regions. Half of GAF goes to, and it's a portion going in C, goes to paying off bonds in different buildings. Those bonds are used to get basically the money just to build the buildings. And once those bonds are paid off, usually the general activity fee actually decreases by the amount per student, per credit hour that is paid, but you can go through a process to keep it at the same flat rate, but instead of that money going to bonds, we can actually make it go to GAF. So it funds like organizations, athletics, what other stuff is, all the other stuff. Rocker Days, I believe, is funded by GAF as well. So just all the stuff is funded by GAF. So, but I don't believe we have any upcoming bonds that are going to be up on our buildings this in the next couple of years. So that wouldn't be really an option for us, but that was an option for USD. So that's just an example that was brought up there. But the Board of Regents is now really aware of that issue, that main issue of GAF. Another thing I brought up to Board of Regents as well as StuFed was campus security. That was an issue I think that was shared by a lot of schools, but I feel like Board of Regents has been aware of campus security issues on the various campuses, especially our campuses, and now they're more aware of it now. What I'm talking about is like lighting. I know lighting is a big issue for us here. Being in just an urban area, one of the second largest urban area, South Dakota, that was another thing we really brought up to the Board of Regents. So I know that's been a big concern for just a lot of students on campus in general. It's been a concern since I've been on Senate. And I'm pretty sure even before that, it's a big reason why we're having cameras being continuously installed. So yeah, that was the big Board of Regents stuff. And then finally, student regent. That was another thing we talked about. If you don't know, the current student regent, his name is Brock Brown. He's been student regent for a while. His term has expired, per se, but Christine Ohm still hasn't appointed a new student regent, and she hasn't shown signs of really moving on that. So we're just sort of waiting for that process to continue. But other than that, there's no update on that. Yes, Senator Seekman.
Just elaborate on that a bit more. The current way that it's going to work is there's just not going to be a vacancy in that spot. Come the 10th day of the legislative session, if Governor Noem does not appoint somebody from her list of candidates that she interviewed this summer, it'll just go to the legislature to appoint, and they're going to reappoint Regent Brown. And from what I understand, he does not want that to happen. He has done his time and he's ready to move on. And so Student Federation has toyed with the idea, and will be working on it in the coming month before the December meeting, that we are going to form a letter either on a university level or a Student Federation level, and encourage Governor Noem to make this appointment so that Regent Brown does not have to complete another term that he might not necessarily want when there's other candidates who are ready to go. Just for further elaboration that might be coming down the pipeline.
And then one last,
Do we know if Vice President Bailey from BH was still on the candidate list like it was at the end of last fiscal year?
To my knowledge, the candidate list is as it stands. If you had an interview this summer, that's the last thing anybody heard.
And I'm guessing it's not public?
I don't believe so.
No. That's the vibe. After talking and communicating with all the other schools, they have had people apply, and they've just been sitting in limbo since July, which is amazing.
Yeah, and then one last thing I wanted to bring up out of the Board of Regents meeting is still pertaining to GAF. I think we should run another survey. My personal opinion, I think we should run another survey to gather student opinions on GAF, this time advertising it as neutral. as opposed to the campaign we did last semester. I think we all share the sentiment in the room as well to do that. So I think I will pass that out to the PR and SA committees, just so we can kind of make a joint committee or joint effort on that part, and to elaborate on that as well. SDSU is also running their own survey on their campus. So we're probably I'll probably reach out to them and either just get their survey and give it to our students, or ask for them for advice on building our own survey for our students. Yes, Senator Boston.
Can there also be a survey ran to gauge interest in like tuition freeze versus tuition increase? Is that something that can be paired with a survey?
Yeah, we can definitely think about that. I don't know how feasible, I don't know exactly what the use of that would be now. But I mean, I would like to do that because I think it's really important. So I think if you guys don't mind, I might task you with that as well.
Yeah, I would think doing them together would be good, just simply coming from a stance of, do you know what this is? Do you know what this goes to? What do you think about increasing? Here's what would happen if we increased. What do you think about decreasing? Here's what would happen if we decreased. Simply having data to present to other student federations, schools, and the Board of Regents come winter time and legislative session will be helpful. So I agree that we can tack on that.
My opinion is that it would be valid to know that data. However, I do not think that our student population is well educated enough in general on the difference between tuition and fees, and I believe that sending it out in one survey is going to get a different response than purely a survey discussing either tuition or fees, and I believe they should be separated by a decent enough period of time to not create confusion.
Okay, valid point. I was more coming from the point of, it'll be hard enough to get people to fill out one survey, let alone two. But that is a valid point of limiting the confusion.
So from a time perspective, I know you all are getting ready to meet with Vice President Spindle. Is maybe visiting with him to get additional data when that might be presented at the board level. I would say tuition is probably going to take priority at this point, because I think if that moves forward at the board level, that will come this next legislative session. So maybe get that data and get that one started, and then look at the gap.
Yeah, because we don't have that.
Yeah, because it won't matter if you don't get the information in on time.
We won't.
Yeah,
we want to have the gap stuff prepared until about March or April for that board meeting, so that's not for a while. Senator Seaton.
I was going to say, adding on to that, in terms of just general fees and tuition and money things, the Board of Regents is stressing that they will simply not know what's going to happen till March or April, because the legislative session has to go through before they get a budget, and they simply don't know. So there's a lot that's up in the air that we can't really work on until spring. But coming with that data to the December and early meetings next year in January will be extremely beneficial.
Senator Richards.
Yeah, I think we should cover that not only with a survey of student opinions, but with some Senate consensus, some Senate decision on our view.
Wait, sorry, can you elaborate on that?
We take a Senate vote on our opinion.
Okay.
And present that as well.
Okay, yes. Yes, Senator Austin.
Would that be after the survey goes out to campus community to keep it neutral after campus communities?
Most likely. Senator Lynn.
I just like to say this was like something that was agreed upon by the church.
And if anybody has tremendous thoughts upon this, come talk to either Senator Winter or myself, and we can chat about exactly what the survey is going to turn up. We're still in the planning stage, nothing is concrete, so if you have ideas.
Any other questions? Vice President.
Is there any update on shed preparations, funding?
Yes, sorry, I was going to bring it up in e-board tonight, but there is some money available on a student federation level to attend shed for us. They're not exactly sure how much or how it'll be distributed amongst the schools attending, but Executive Director Gibney of Student Federation has declared that he has spent what he's going to spend to Planet Shed, so whatever's left is up to Student Federation to divvy out how they see fit. So that'll be ongoing conversations that we're having as well as Student Federation. But there will be some money that will be, in theory, given to us to attend Shed.
Do you know approximately what that is?
No.
Alright, any other comments, questions, or concerns? Seeing none, move on to our international report.
Yep. One, we have the cultural advocates dinner coming up on 17th at 5. It's a great opportunity to learn about different cultures and their free food. And we also have a lot of seats available, so I encourage you to apply and please convince your constituents to apply. Two, we have the director of Ivanhoe International Center on a recruitment trip to Asia to recruit more international students to our university. And three, the India Club has started initial preparations for the Diwali event, which is going to be next month.
Yeah. When are the RCTs supposed to be in for that tomorrow?
Yeah, and so my office is sponsoring a table, so I think that there's 4 or 5 seats there. So when you go in and register, on that there's places that can be sponsored. So you know, use my office as first, and then as those fill up. But that email yesterday said that there's a lot of sponsored positions for students to attend for free.
Any other questions, comments, concerns for Senator Fernandez? Seeing none, we'll move on to our veteran report.
No report.
Alright, moving on to our graduate report.
The Graduate Student Society had a successful coffee and donuts in the Civil Mechanical Building last week. I'll let you all know when the next one is planned for in the report.
Right. Moving on to our non-traditional Senator report.
No report.
Alright, moving on to our committee report, starting with Constitution.
We'll hear from the lost and found student org next week. And report.
Alright, first. Moving on to public relations report.
I apologize in particular to Secretary Garcia for speaking out of turn during the President's report. I do apologize. But in terms of PR, not a whole lot. We're working on publishing the Hard Rocker discount program, and we'll be working on the gas survey. So, stuff in the works. And it's work.
Alright. Moving on to government relations report.
Yeah, so you probably with the President Archer said we put out that information about using the ID to vote. Thank you, Senator Lewis, for bringing that to our attention. That email was approved by the Secretary of State, so we're hopeful that it's 100% accurate. Just a reminder, we have the Pancheros meal on November 15th. We will be doing our Senate bonding event for this semester on October 30th, which is one of the days we'll be in the ballroom. It's going to be Halloween themed, so start thinking about a costume. And we'll be hopefully having walking tacos. More information will be going out about that. We are having a monument fundraiser Sunday, October 13th, from 11 to 4 p.m. You should have gotten an email if you signed up for that. That is with the expectation you will be there. And if you didn't sign up for that, but you can make it, we are just at the bare minimum of what we can have there. So let me know if you can go to that. Only 13 people filled out that survey, so I'll be sending it out again. If you filled it out already, thank you. Otherwise, please fill the survey out. It is for the entire semester. Yeah. Yep, that's all I have.
Any questions, comments, concerns? Vice President Lee.
Is it possible to show up midway through the fundraiser for the monument?
If there's like people, it's easier for us to switch out and stuff because it's like you're wearing t-shirts. So if you can come for part of the time, let me know and I can tell you whether we have someone, because we already do have 2 people who will normally part of it.
Any other questions, comments, concerns for Senator Leonard? Seeing none, we'll move on to our student affairs report.
I will be messaging 4 clubs tomorrow, and the Rocker Cars Club did not present today. They wanted to refine their presentation, and they expressed interest in presenting next week. And tomorrow I can also check Rob's availability to see if for our meeting Thursday next week, we could just go talk to Rob. We only have 124 responses to our climate survey so far. So either I could just take the numbers as is and start breaking them down, or we would have to do more tabling or just send the survey out again a second time. And then we'll discuss that further in the board and end of report.
Alright. Any comments, questions, concerns for Senator Winter on student affairs? Okay, you have that up? Alright, and on campus and ad hocs, we finally got this assigned, so go ahead and throw that up there. We're just gonna throw it up there. Look for your name. This is also Teams folder under the 2024-2025 Archer Week folder. So, yeah, so it's under general, the teams, and then yes, there you go. So, and if you want to take a picture of this too, please feel free. I realize I left a note on there. But yeah, so I'll give everyone a second to kind of look at that, get a picture if you need it. Yeah, so this is who we have for all committees. I do apologize if you didn't get the committee you wanted. You just had to work with numbers and such. Yes, Senator.
Can I request that we also send out, I know some committees you have to reach out to the person in charge of it. Some people in charge will reach out to the members. I just want to make sure that we get that organized.
Yes, so I will send out, I've already sent out an email to Catherine Ellison, who chairs the Parking Appeals Committee. I'll also send out an email to the respective chairs of each committee, say for safety and security. You're cool with that? Yeah, so, yes. Yeah, other than that, these are the committee assignments for ad hocs and campus committees for this year. So, Senator Peel.
Does last year there was an inclusion committee, and I assume it still exists, but do we just not have a student representative on that anymore?
Let me find out.
Yeah.
There are some things having to change with the committee.
Yeah,
I haven't heard updates yet, so I'll find out.
Yeah, I wasn't made aware of an inclusion committee this year, but if things changes, I will reach out to everyone and see who would like to be on that committee. So, yeah. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Yes, Senator Hernandez?
I don't know if this has happened, but do we have the freshmen assigned to committees? Not the ad hoc committees, but
yeah, so we have, or for ad hocs, not for, are you talking about permanent committees?
yeah, permanent committees.
Not yet. Our plan is to do that tonight and then have those solidified. We'll reach out to freshmen and have those solidified by next week. Any other questions? Comments, concerns about ad hoc committees? Seeing none, we'll move on our agenda to upcoming Senate business. I will announce that Senator Seekman and I will be out next week because we have responsibilities on the Presidential Search Committee. So it's an all-day meeting next week. Very fun. So next week your president will be Senator Vice President Lee, and your vice president will be Senator Alarafe. Yeah. Other than that, that's what I have. Senator Seekman?
I know I've been messaging the freshmen about polos. If you want to come with after the meeting to the office to grab them, great.
Into that, let's go on to announcements. Do we have any announcements? Alright, Senator Winter.
77 days until Santa Claus pulls up.
Alright. Any other announcements? Any motions? Second. Motion adjourned by Senator Pink, seconded by Some of your living room. All those in